Hello again. Welcome back to part 2 of our topic today, positional judgment. So in our last video, we spoke about how one can assess a position, how one can judge a position to see whether they have the advantage or the disadvantage. Now that we know, now that we have an idea on how to assess the position, let us now work on what to do next. Once you've established the person that's having the advantage, what are you to do next? All right. So let's just go back to the last position that we had. I think it was this one. So the last time we assessed this one, we came with the conclusion that white was slightly better, which means white has the duty to attack. Otherwise, they'll risk losing the advantage. So now, what must white play in this position? What now white needs to do is to take a good look at the center, because the center, in most cases, is what dictates what white's plan is going to be. Now, when I say center, I want you to focus on the 4 central squares. Okay, E4, E4, E5, D4, D5, these 4 central squares. The type of center that we have right now is called a closed center, because as you can see, it's self-explanatory, and the pieces cannot move forward. They're all locked up. And we call this a closed center. Now, what do you do when you come across a closed center? You attack the flanks. I think it's logic to attack the flanks since the center is closed. It's not possible to break through or to penetrate in a closed center. All right. So you have to attack from the flanks. So let's say you were the one playing white, and you were thinking, you're contemplating on playing bishop to e3. Let's say you were thinking of playing bishop to e3, but part of your mind is also suggesting queen to e2, so that you can leave a connection between your rooks, which seems also to be a good move. Maybe queen d2. All right, so you have 3 options to play: queen e2, queen d2, bishop e3, and maybe, let's just say, knight h2. What would you play? Queen e2, d2, bishop e3, or h2? Which move would you most probably go for? Let me show you what I do when I'm playing. So just by looking, I would most probably favor knight h2 compared to the other one, simply because the center is closed and I have to attack from the sides. So this one is hitting from the sides. Maybe from knight h2, I'm thinking of moving it to g4. All right, so why am I simply playing h2 is because I'm attacking from the sides, from the flanks. It's a closed center, so I must hit from the sides. All right, compared to a move like queen e2, it's an okay move, but it's not really attacking any of the flanks. Bishop e3, yes, it is kind of controlling an important diagonal, but again, it's not really as effective. Well, in my opinion, it's not as effective as knight h2, so I'll probably not go with bishop e3. Are you getting it? So just by looking, my first choice will be knight h2. Now, what I just need to do is to make sure that knight h2 is good. It doesn't have any repercussions by playing knight h2. It works perfectly well. Does it making sense? All right, so for instance, I'll probably play knight h2. Maybe they play b4. Just give you an example. Okay, it's not such a great example, but I'll give it anyway here. So maybe I would go with rook h1 followed by queen, and then queen h2 hitting on h7. You see, I've already managed to open the h file, and now I'm attacking on the flanks because we have a close center. I hope you're understanding what I'm trying to put across here. So let's go back to the position. So once you have a close center, those are the steps that you need to take. Find ways of attacking the flanks. Your next question might be, so Robert, I'm thinking of playing pawn a4. Isn't that also the flanks? All right, so between a4 and knight h2, which one must I go for? I think both of them kind of works. I will show you some examples from some top grandmasters in my next videos, but let's just quickly look at a4 and h2. These two moves are both attacking the flanks. So how do you pick which flank to attack? I use the principle called, I call it cutting the board in two, or cutting the board in half. What do I mean? I mean, what I will do is this. I'll cut the board in half, and I count the number of pieces that black has on the queen side versus the number of big pieces that white has on the queen side. So for instance, black has 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and on the king side, it's pretty much the same. So I now start to assess, where do I have better chances of launching a successful attack? This is going to be 4 big pieces against 4 big pieces on the queen side, and also the same number on the king side. And I see that it's going to be very difficult for me to actually launch an attack on the queen side. So I would prefer to go knight h2, you know, because by playing knight h2, I think black has to move. So knight h2, so by playing knight h2, white can simply bring in another big piece towards the king side. So now I'm outnumbering black on the king side. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, and they have 1, 2, 3, which means I now have a better chance of succeeding on the king side compared to the queen side. Are you getting the idea? But actually both ideas are just fine. All right, I hope you got that. So let's go back to our study position. So this is the close center. So that's what you do. The moment that you see that you have the advantage, take a good look at the center, and then the center will help you to formulate a plan. In this case, the flanks. Now, as black, what would you play here? I suggest that black in this position must try to improve their position. How? There are many moves that black could play. Maybe black should play rook to e8, maybe then bishop to f8, moves like that. Or even black could play moves like knight e8, very much playable. Then maybe g6. Okay, I'm not sure what white would play here, but maybe knight g7 with moves like f5 to follow, you know. Okay, when the opportunity presents itself, then you'll be able to play f5, and now look at these bishops. He starts to improve his position slowly, and only then he will start to attack. All right, let's go back a few moves, just a few moves back. Let's see, just before d5 with bishop d7. So that's what you need to do when you're having the advantage. Look at the center will tell you what to do. Now, how about in an instance like this, where the center is fixed? Remember, we spoke about this in one of my videos, that whenever pawns are like this, we call this a fixed center. Now, what do you do with a fixed center? You place your pieces where they are supported by the pawn in the center, which means for white must be targeting square d5 and f5, and black must target the square on f4. d4. Okay, because d4 is not easy because there is a pawn on c3. How is white going to achieve this? Let me just give a quick example. So maybe white might play knight. And white has already achieved it. All right, so capturing might not be such a great idea for black because it then opens up a deadly bishop. Are you getting the ideas? All right, so let's go back here. So fix. So again, after assessing the position, you need to come up with the conclusion who is better. If you are the one who's better, you must look at the center, and the center will help you to come up with a plan. Now, on the other hand, if you're playing black, try to improve your pieces. Only after you've improved your pieces, you too can also start to launch an attack. All right, so that was center number 2. Let us look at the third type of a center. All right, where were we? Here. Now, maybe white, what if white plays here, black goes. Now, this type of a center, we call it open center. Why? Because we only have one pawn in the central squares. When you have 1 or 0 pawns in the middle, we call that open center. And the principle is you must try to focus more on the big pieces and not pawns. So again, if you are the one playing white and if you feel you have the advantage, after assessing the position, of course, you must then try to focus mainly on the big pieces. For instance, you might be thinking of playing pawn to, let's say, you might be thinking of playing pawn to b3, which is an okay move because you're opening up for the bishop. All right, but at the same time, you might be considering knight to g3, maybe queen f3, excuse me, maybe rook to e3. What would you most probably go for? I would probably most likely go with the big piece. All right. So, I'm sorry, it's like this. Okay, so I would most probably go with knight to g3 because I'm moving my knight towards the king side, and I'm moving, it's a big piece that I'm moving. So maybe possibly after this I might play knight, queen f3, and try to launch an attack from there on. I hope it's making sense. All right, so we have it now. So we've now looked at the closed center, the fixed center, and the open center. First thing that you need to do first is to assess the position and make sure that you know who's having the advantage. Then after that, you look at the center, and the center will help you formulate the plan. And from there on, things will just become easier and easier. So guys, I would like to thank you so much for taking this time to listen to me. And in my next video, I'll try to come up with some examples of games where grandmasters handling these types of positions, these types of centers, so you can see for yourself how they go on about it. All right. So for now, guys, I would like to say thank you, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye-bye.